What's up, ladies and lads? It's Hawk here from Infinity HD Productions.
Hey, all you YouTube and podcast fans, it's Librous Blood here, and we are back for another 360 Perspective podcast.
How long have you been working up that intro?
Not very long.
Not very long?
I've been up for the whole night. That's not an exact number. I think I woke up at 1 yesterday, and I've been up since.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm...
That's what happens when you record late.
Yeah, I'm actually uploading right now.
Oh, joy.
Oh,
joy.
Yep.
Oh, I did the same thing the other day. It was just, ugh. This is why I decided to record yesterday. Because I finally found a setting that would work. But yeah, so we are back. This is going to be a little odd of a recording for us while we're making this. Because it's the first time that we're not in the same room.
Which is probably going to be standard for the next couple months.
Yeah, it's probably going to be standard. At least we're using the same kind of equipment. You know, we both have our Blue Yeti.
Oh,
microphones.
yeah.
That shameless plug in there for our non-existent sponsor.
Non-existent.
It's non-existent. We aren't sponsored, and we keep doing that. Like, that's the joke that's never gonna die. Is just plugging Blue Yeti mics, or the what is the cheaper one? The cardioid only.
Yeah.
The Snowball.
Mm-hmm.
They do have new ones now. I don't know what the names of the new ones are.
Yeah, no idea.
I think the only one that I do know is that they have a Blue Yeti 2. As for what they...
Yeah, the Pro thing, I have no idea what that does.
I don't either. The only one that I don't know is the one that is similar to or is the more improved version of the Snowball.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell it is. But yeah, let's actually get into this.
Just every episode we're going to start talking about future sponsors that don't exist and we will never have.
You never know.
That is true. Let's be honest. If we were given the option, I would sell out in a heartbeat.
I probably would too, and my biggest reason is I chose this kind of line of work as a career.
Mm-hmm.
So entertainment, I said this in my videos that just went up last night, or my latest video for, I think it was Notch, but I mentioned how I don't know, I take every comment and every like and view on my videos so very seriously, because it tells me where I'm heading as a creator, as an actor, as a voice over work person, just in general as an entertainer. It kind of generally gives me a good sense of where I'm going, which I really don't have another option at this point, because I've kind of devoted a large portion of my time towards that. So there's no fallbacks here.
Right.
Aside from carpentry, but I can do both. I'd rather get really good at the one that I'm not so good at right now, or in my opinion. I don't know. Hawk could tell you more about that, I guess.
Yeah, I'm currently working on clip art, actually.
Oh my god.
I'm making a thumbnail for the video I'm uploading.
Well, no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I actually worked hard to draw one up. I don't know. Did you see my video the other day?
I saw them pop up. I haven't watched them yet.
Okay. Did you see the thumbnail for the episode 4.5?
Maybe.
Okay. It was really hard. That was all hand drawn using my mouse that is apparently only for MOBA games, because the wheel doesn't work. I found that out the day I got it in the mail.
Nice.
Yeah. It's great for playing League and Smite, I guess. Or not Smite. I don't play Smite. What is the one? Heroes of the Storm, and Overwatch if I ever decide to learn how to play with a mouse and keyboard. Sorry. I didn't have a mouse, so I decided to be a noob and play with a controller. Like I said, I think we mentioned this in our first episode, but like, we're primarily gaming channels. Even though I don't do a lot of that on my channel as much as last summer, I'm still primarily a gaming channel, so like, controller's a little bit easier than mouse a lot of the time because it's a lot more readily available.
Right.
I got to figure out how this program works for Audacity.
It's really nice once you figure out how to use it. It's super simple, but I love it.
Okay. Yeah, because I can't tell if I'm being too quiet or too loud, and I don't know where to put myself near my mic.
Usually, even if it looks like you're being quiet, you can still hear it pretty well.
Okay. I'm so used to like having to be loud because of like music in game, so I don't know.
Copyright strikes.
Yeah, the amount of those I have.
Yeah.
I actually have 0. I just have a lot of flags for copyright, and since I don't monetize, the creators themselves of the copyrighted content just monetize the video and let me keep using it. Like, they let me show off the game that their music shows up in, because it's always for music. It's for nothing else but music that I get stripped for copyright. And I'm just like, I can't help it. It just pops up in the middle of the game. I don't want to just have dead silence during the game. Yeah, it's just really weird to see that and then be like, oh, I have no copyright strikes. How? I have like 5 videos that were flagged, and they're just like, oh yeah, no, we're cool. You don't monetize them, so whatever. I'm just like, all right, well, I got lucky. Don't bank on that if you're a YouTuber, by the way. Do not bank on that. That does not happen all the time. It is by the good graces of me playing indie games that they are that nice. But yeah, let's get into these topics that
I was like,
night.
when are we gonna discuss what you
I don't
said
know.
we're
I was
gonna
waiting for you
discuss?
to interrupt me. You're supposed to help keep me on track.
Nah, it's more entertaining if I can just sit there and listen to you ramble.
Why?
Like I said, it's more entertaining.
Yeah.
Also, I'm looking
Alright.
for the eraser button.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so while you're working on that, so generally the way things work for our topics is we just pick something that we've talked about before, but this time I took some time, and I don't know where these came from in my head, but I was like, let's do this. So which of these do you want to talk about first? Because I sent you the list yesterday. Or do you want me to do a refresher so that the audience
just
knows?
go through what we're going to discuss.
Okay, so hopefully we can cover all of this in this session, but what I came up with was talking about censorship in media today. Age requirements on things, whether it be for movies or film, or just like that assumed age requirement to do things.
Yeah.
Generally in real life. And then media then and now. That last one is more of like media back a couple decades ago. Not a couple, but like a few decades ago. And media today. And by today, I mean like anything
Like mainstream media, I assume.
No, like what is the one? Kind of mainstream media, how it's changed, but also a little bit of the change in media as a whole. I want to say anything pre-2000 is the then in that statement, and then anything 2000 and up is now.
Okay. So also kind of how communications has changed.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, a little bit. Don't worry, I actually have notes for myself because I knew this I would get like all ah like fumbled, like
Hmm.
doing this, as I am now. It's great. All right, so which one do you want to go first on? Because I've been talking a lot so far.
I'm aware. So I would probably want
Hi,
to work
aware.
with.
I'm Libris.
Dear Lord.
that shitty dad joke in there.
Wow. Wow. Okay, let's just look at then and now. We'll just start with, simple history and how we got to where we are.
Okay. You want to start it off?
So, I don't know. Whenever I think about this topic, the very first thing I think about is a recent quote from I think it was John Oliver.
Okay.
And it's essentially years ago we used to listen to our politicians and laugh at comedians, and now we laugh at our politicians and listen to our comedians. And like you can apply that same thing to mainstream media. Most people don't believe the actual media, even if they're giving out facts. They give out such watered down or overhyped versions of it to where people have become desensitized.
Yeah, making like, so I know what you're talking about. It's like overly dramatizing certain events.
Hmm.
I remember this was actually not too long. Actually, this is a while ago. I was still in high school actually, but this was back in I think 2014, 2015. No, not that was when I graduated. I mean, what? No, this is back around I want to say 2010 to 2011, the summer of that year, or between those years. I remember I went on a trip, and it was for the People to People program, which is a wonderful program, by the way. It's really great. You get the opportunity to travel to other countries and learn about their cultures, and you get really immersed. You meet politicians from there. You get to go to art exhibits and museums and see a lot of things that a lot of people don't get to see. But one of the biggest concerns that I remember coming up a lot of the time in the meetings from parents was this kind of concern about Greece, because there were riots happening, and
Right.
a couple of the parents were very concerned about the safety of the children when we would get there, where we were staying, what places of Greece were we going to, and a lot of it came from our media actually overly exaggerating the problems. When we got there, we had a guide actually explain to us that the riots that we see on TV, or like the version of the riots that we see on TV, is when they're actively happening. Otherwise, they actually had a schedule for when they could riot, and they were very civil about it. When it was
Really?
no longer their time, they would not be there. They'd just be hanging around like normal average people in the square. So that's a good example of the over dramatization that happens in media nowadays. You take a seemingly horrible situation and you amp up what isn't really happening. Like, you take what is actually happening and you just spin it in such a way that it's overly dramatized.
Right. Well, you start to see that here too, where they'll take what are generally peaceful protests, and anytime some small incident happens, they manage to turn it into this over dramatized and riotous act.
Exactly. Do you remember? We're not going to use specifics for like where we go to school or anything, but on our campus there was this one incident in which there is an event where we have it every year, or every school year.
Yes, it's actually a national organization, so we can go ahead and say it. It's,
so it's Take Back the Night. So Take Back the Night, I want to say it was 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
We had, if you don't, let's actually go into what Take Back the Night is. Take Back the Night is a event set up to talk about.
Essentially, it's designed to be sexual assault awareness, from what I understood, and it's supposed to be a peaceful place where survivors can discuss it. Correct?
Yes.
Yes.
That is the intended purpose. Unfortunately for us, 2 years ago, a few weeks prior to the event, we had several incidents of an individual going around and inappropriately touching and grabbing women around our campus. He eventually got caught. And
if I remember correctly, he didn't even get caught until last year because that was still going on.
Yeah, it took a while to find the culprit, and several things happened. One of which affected the night of Take Back the Night.
Mm-hmm.
And it changed it from this safe zone to kind of almost a minefield, I want to say, because we had a news station. I can't remember which one it was. I want to say it was Fox.
It was because one of our friends was interviewed, and they took his words and spun what he said.
Okay, yeah, I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
So Fox, a branch of Fox News, showed up on our campus, and they asked. So the way that they approached it was that they asked about the event, but the way that they asked about Take Back the Night was geared more towards the instances of sexual assault that occurred by the individual around our campus, randomly grabbing people. And they asked a lot of questions like, oh, do you feel safe? Do you feel like it's the protection here at this campus, or this is subpar or inadequate? How do you feel being in this environment? How has this affected you? And the biggest thing was that they continuously went up to a lot of the female students that go to our school. And when you just see that happening, it's not okay. It was very inappropriate the way they were asking about it and the way that they approached the subject as a whole. They weren't really trying to get into the real aspect of what the event is supposed to be and what it symbolizes, and they were looking more for a story based on something completely unrelated to this event, but still related in a way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that made sense.
Yeah. And sometimes, like, over dramatization, and this is what Hawk mentioned, is that sometimes media tries to spin things in a way that things really aren't. And this was something that, I witnessed firsthand, and it really bugged me that I saw this happen. And regardless of if you want to believe me or not, or if Fox does anything, I doubt they're gonna listen to this podcast, or if they're ever gonna do anything about it. Like, we don't make money off of this. Like, we're trying to just express ourselves and to express our opinions. But something that I saw, that I don't know if they ever ended up using the footage, but I remember seeing one of their crew members hop out of their van. They were in like a Polo earlier in the day, or something that was a lot nicer, not like casual clothes. Then they tossed a sweater on top of what they were wearing, zipped it up, pulled over the hoodie. It was not a cold night. I can guarantee that because it was, what was it? It was like early fall, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, yeah, it was early fall, so still like sleeveless weather. So they pulled up a hoodie, and I was like, oh, maybe they're just walking somewhere, because I was monitoring a different event that happened to be on our main lawn, which was right across from where they were parked. And no, I actually saw them recording their crew member walking very shadily down our sidewalk on our campus.
Oh, and the entire point of this event is that people can express themselves without the worry of it getting out, and yeah.
Yeah, without the worry about their assailant finding out where they are, because a lot of the time, you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you're being broadcast, because then if your assailant is not in jail, which in today's society sometimes is very often the case, but if they're not in jail, you run the risk that they will find where you are, and that puts your safety in danger. Like that puts you in danger. Mm-hmm. It compromises your safety. But yeah, so I mean that's something that a lot of media stations nowadays do. They'll change stories up, and you see it a lot where, depending on the person, well, I'm gonna say this now, like, and Hawk knows this, but it's very different when you see news if you come from a place of privilege, and a lot of the time it's not even monetary privilege or social status. A lot of the time it could be something very simple as your race or your ethnicity. And speaking from experience of seeing this a lot in media and seeing this a lot in just society as a whole, it really means something when somebody, it really means something when somebody finds out what your ethnicity and what your race is, because you never know how they're going to react, and a lot of the time it's not in a very positive way. The same can be said for any minority, socioeconomically not well off individuals,
right?
People in the LGBTQ plus community, and
at the end of the day, there are always ways that some people are better off than another group.
Yeah.
One of the best events I've ever participated in, this actually wasn't on campus, but I've considered bringing it, is when you get a room of people to line up and you list off things that happen in their daily life, and the people that experience that get to walk forward. And by the end of it, people become completely separated on the lines, and you get to see who's more privileged.
Okay. I've seen something very similar to this.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen something very similar to this. It wasn't to try and find about privilege, but I was trying to find the similarities between people, like taking different groups of people who have gone through different walks of life, and seeing how similar some people from different walks of life can be. It doesn't matter, like, at the end of the day, we're all human, so we all make the same mistakes, or we make the same choices,
right,
at certain points in our lives. But yeah, no, like, for media, it has gotten, I want to say it has gotten slightly better in some ways, but it has a lot of room to grow.
Mm-hmm. Well,
because like
something that really gets to me is if you look at the infamous interview that Richard Frost did with. Sorry, I don't think it's Richard Frost. What's his name? Frost Nixon. Do you remember this?
um
Uh,
I might
I think it might be Daniel. Anyway, so Frost is the name of the guy that interviewed Richard Nixon, and that's where the infamous quote of "I'm president, so it isn't illegal" came from. Because this was Nixon's first like major address since leaving the presidency.
okay.
And the history behind Frost is that he was just a TV host. He had nothing to do with news, nothing to do with standard media. He was a reality TV star from, I think, Australia, or at the very least the UK, but he had a show in Australia. And when people heard that he had this interview with Richard Nixon, he was a laughing stock in the media. Everyone thought it was going to go so poorly and that he was going to throw really soft questions. And now you look at the media, and if they were to do something like Frost did, they would be the most well-respected people ever, because people just don't ask hard-hitting questions. And it's interesting how the same people who were once critics and would make fun of people like that have become those people.
Well, of course. It takes one person to start a change, but it takes so long for people to start following that form of change. Because changing people is really hard. Changing mediums or forms is even worse. But it goes to show, like, it doesn't matter what workplace or like what job that you come from, you can ask a hard-hitting question.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've seen many interview or many a debate in which, or a Q&A or a question and answer forum for for government officials, in which there are people who are younger than I am or around my age that really take it to town to some of these officials, and they're stunned because they don't know how to answer those hard-hitting questions.
Mm-hmm.
And it really makes a statement that of what society expects us to do as we get older is to become more cognizant and more aware of our place. Well, in my opinion, there is no place that somebody deserves to be in. We all have equal opportunities to be wherever we want to be. As long as we're doing our jobs, we're doing our work, what does it matter? But it's also that thing of, we trust our politicians to do so much for us because we're trying to help keep the society that they are trying to structure running.
Mm-hmm.
They set up the structure. It's up to us to keep it running and for us to go with what they throw at us. So it's a very interesting thing in how media has changed, and now hard-hitting questions are very highly respected, but you don't see them come from the expected sources.
No, it no longer comes from the mainstream.
Yeah.
Which kind of gets into, and I don't want to get into the whole political thing about fake news, but just how do you...
Gosh.
Yeah, that's an entire rant waiting to happen from one of us.
I'm not touching it, so...
How do you feel about the way social media has impacted the way information is gotten out to people?
Okay. Well, coming from my perspective, because you know this about me, I'm not the most tech savvy. I'm not the most aware of social media as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that's a problem, sometimes it's not. It really just depends. but I feel that as a medium for information, it is beyond anything that we had years ago. It is phenomenal how quickly and how readily accessible so much information is.
Mm-hmm.
But the caveat to that statement is that
Where is it coming from?
where is it coming from? A lot of the information can sometimes become watered down or inaccurate horribly.
Mm-hmm.
I remember someone posting a video, and the person didn't really understand what the article or what the news video was about, because it was about wait, you have eaten already, yes?
I have what?
Have you already eaten?
Yes.
Okay, good. So I'll continue with this. So it was a video about a young child having surgery on their intestines and something getting pulled out. Now, the original poster of this video, I couldn't find where they were, or like what they originally had on the video, but the person who reposted most recently that I had seen at that point, before reading further comments, believed that what they were pulling out, because of how it looked, was that it was spaghetti that the child had not chewed and they had just swallowed whole.
That's not how that works.
I know. It took several people to educate the person that no, those are tapeworms.
Awesome.
Because our body naturally digests our food no matter how we swallow it.
Mm-hmm.
Because the acids in our stomach are highly volatile. That's why it burns the inside of our throat if we throw up. Because that's essentially acid coming up in a more diluted form. So it's it's one of those things where, like, if one person had seen only that one thread, they would have believed that that was what happened if you ate spaghetti whole. It really depends on where you're getting the information from, which is an issue because sometimes nowadays you're not sure, you don't know. So it's a great source of information to have social media. It's a great way to pass along information that otherwise would be only found in libraries, or you would have to have a letter correspondence between people, not email, like handwritten letter correspondences.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an amazing forum that we now have available to us, but at times I feel like it is so easily abused and misused. There's so much that can go wrong with a tool such as that, but there's so much to gain from having a tool like it as well. I don't know. That's one of my things. So I have a few things here too, but thinking about media back in the day and media now, how do you feel about, and you've heard me rant about this a couple times, but common life skills. How do you feel about, like, how media nowadays kind of portrays certain situations or certain lifestyles, like being a college student back in the day versus now? Like, how do you feel like media has prepared certain generations of like future adults and future
Like,
leaders
like,
for
are we
life.
talking mainstream news or media in general?
Media in general, more.
Media in general, I feel like it's done okay because let's be honest, if someone going to college wants to learn how life is in college, Google it. Like there are entire lists on, how to act in certain
Okay.
situations. But I think something that is really prevalent, even if it's more of a social idea and it's not even real, and it's pervasive throughout our society currently, is the idea of the lazy millennial.
Okay.
Like if you look at it, the generation before us was the counterculture. They literally went out of their way to not listen to their parents and protest and in many cases do a ton of drugs. And
Okay. Okay.
then that
I got you.
same group has now aged and now they're the ones that tell us not to do those things.
Right.
And in most cases, a lot of our current societal issues stem from that generation. Now, I mean, that's kind of getting away from the main point here, but where the millennial age group is told that, we expect everything and so on and so forth, but we weren't the ones that developed helicopter parents and kind of put that idea into our head. So I just think it's interesting how things haven't really changed, but at the same time, there's this cultural myth that we are taught that things have changed so much.
Okay. That's your point. You actually tied into another thing that I want to talk about, but um, you actually took this in a different way than what I meant. But I do agree with you that there's a lot of this assumption of um, not only our generation but younger generations as they come, that we're lazy, we're always looking for immediate gratification. We don't know the meaning of tradition or an honest day's work. And it's very surprising because there's this large quantity of quote unquote millennials or people around our age and younger that are seeking to learn a lot of these dead arts that are around, or learning these new techniques that take so much work, but it looks like it doesn't take any effort at all because we have so many more resources available to us that it makes it seem like we're lazy because we're not working hard, uh, or like we're not breaking a sweat, or we're not having our blood, sweat, and tears in every little project that we go into or every little endeavor.
Yeah,
But
like
at the
it
same
it
time, it's like
takes it
it's
takes
perspective.
us half an hour to get the amount of research that used to take hours of searching through books.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's you know a lot can be a lot. There are a lot of things that are very similar in this situation. Not only like people, but like let's think about you know health, healthcare, or like medicine. You know, a few decades, well, not a few, like quite a few decades ago, it used to be that home remedies were more more seen and much more accepted than they are today. A lot of the times nowadays you have parents who, if their kid is feeling really bad, or like not even really bad, like slightly off kilter, they will immediately reach for Advil or ibuprofen or some kind of drug or pill that we in modern day times have now developed. Um, and I'm not discounting science or like medicine as a whole at all. Um, I still take medicine when I need it because I know there are some like home remedies or some natural remedies that are similar, but they don't act as fast. They're more preemptive. It's more about making sure that you're living a healthy lifestyle as well, which is very hard in today's modern age. So I can see the point behind it, but there are certain times where a home remedy is much more effective than taking a pill. And I feel like there's a lot of that loss and that art, and I feel like media kind of makes it seem in some regards, like, I'm not saying don't, no matter what your opinion is on flu shots or vaccinations, they do a lot more help than the supposed harm that you think they do. Because in my opinion, as much as I believe in natural remedies and home remedies, that is something that I'm actually learning and studying about, so that way I know when I can use them and when it is impossible for them to work to help me with what is happening internally to my body. Like, if I have a cold, okay, maybe I'll use like a home remedy. I'll have some tea, or I'll have some medicine that I can cook up with some natural herbs. But if I have the flu, or if I have pneumonia, I'm not going to solely rely on that. I might use it as supplement to the medication that I would pick up, because you can only take so much of that, and sometimes you need a little bit more, but not too much. That's where you can apply those home remedies or those natural concoctions or cures to the same thing, or those salves and things like that. So there can be a balance between the two, but I feel like in today's media, there are a lot of things that are just seen as obsolete, or just pure craziness, or lazy, or being lazy.
In media in general, yeah, I'd say natural remedies are kind of frowned upon. But I've noticed something in the mainstream where it's either they're super for natural remedies, or they're super for science and medication. There's never a gray middle zone anymore. It's always you're one or the other.
And that's the whole point. It's a terrible thing that we're seeing in media today, that we're allowing it to happen, is this
dualist thought.
Yeah, is that it's like you're either this or you're that. And it applies to so many other aspects of life, where we have this kind of dichotomy, or this dualist idea, in which there's only one option, or in which you can only have one of two options. You're either with something or you're against something. You're either something or you're not. And it's really disheartening and irritating to see that we don't believe that there can be that gray area. Like I said, modern day medicine is wonderful. It does help a lot, but there are so many drawbacks to it. Now, there are drawbacks with natural remedies as well. Don't get me wrong. There are, if you take it in excess. Anything in excess can harm you or kill you. And that's a straight up fact,
I personally prefer eating my nightshade. Please God, no one listening, try to eat nightshade. That's a very bad idea.
It is highly poisonous. Trust me. But yeah. No, I feel like it's... I don't know. I feel like we put so much trust in only one thing at a time. Like, we put... Like, we always tell... Well, not we. But, like, people in society, adults in today's day and age always tell the future generations, don't put all your chickens in one basket.
I thought it was eggs in one basket.
In one basket.
I was like,
don't count all your chickens. Yeah, don't count all your chickens before they're hatched. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't put so much trust in something because sometimes things can change. I don't understand why that logic or that ideology does not apply to those same adults when it is very applicable to what they are choosing to do, or what decisions they are making, or what they are saying.
Sorry, I was just thinking, put all your baskets in one egg.
Oh my gosh. But no, you get, but like, it makes
almost as good as
sense,
vacuuming
though.
a wound closed.
All right, we're not getting into that.
We're not getting into that.
We're not
Sure, we're
getting
talking
into
about
that.
medicine.
Yeah, I'm positive.
It's a great natural remedy.
Positive. It is not a natural remedy. Do not do that. You cannot vacuum wounds closed.
Oh, so you know that now.
Yes, I know that now. Like I said, I was very tired that day, and nothing really made sense to me.
Okay, good to know.
But the thing that you actually had mentioned earlier was helicopter parenting, or parenting in general. As we're moving away from the medicine, because I mean that there's so much that we can say about that, or other situations where we are given an ultimatum where we have to choose one thing or the other, and there should be this gray area. There should not be a reason in life where you can only pick one thing and only one thing ever. Yes, look at how many successes and how many advancements in so many fields that we have today that were spurred on by changes in people's course of life. Look at computers. Look at what we use every day, like what you're using right now to watch this podcast, or to listen to this podcast, or to watch YouTube, or to read the news when you can't catch it on cable, if you still have cable. These would not be possible without a lot of people who took different paths in life than you would have thought possible to create something like this.
Brandon.
Yeah.
Real quick, can you go to my channel and check that episode 2 of YouTuber's Life uploaded? Because for some reason it's saying it's private when it isn't.
Yeah, I can check that. But it's amazing when you think about it, because think about Word programs or Microsoft. I'm trying to remember who created Microsoft, or not Microsoft.
Bill Gates.
Bill Gates, not Microsoft.
Apple.
Apple. That was the one I was thinking of.
Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, look at Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. Yes, it is. Sorry. On a side note, yes, the video is up. The thumbnail says number 2. The title says episode
God damn it.
1.
knew I forgot to edit something in there. Like the actual title is completely different, and yet I forgot to change the number. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. But to get back on that point, you can never tell where the next new idea is going to come from. You can't invest so much of your time and your belief in only one thing, because sometimes it will fail you. It's just statistically speaking, there is a better likelihood for you to have many successes if you have your time and your investments and your and everything that you have, not like physical things, but like everything that you are, your motivation, your time, your effort, your willingness to work. If you invest that in too many things, you're never going to find success. But if you invest in only one thing, you will find that you will reach a peak so early on. and then there's nowhere to go for you. But if you find that middle ground, like we were talking about, and you have a few things that you are good at, or a few things that you are truly invested in, things that you actually care about, that you have so much of a connection to, that are a large benefit to your livelihood, that you participate in, then you will find so many successes in your life.
Mm-hmm.
But now to actually get onto the parenting thing that I was talking about, how do you feel about parenting today? Versus a few decades ago.
Well, the problem was I was raised by people that lived through the 60s and 70s, so very much their outlook is, as long as I'm not getting hurt, they don't give a damn.
Okay.
But growing up, I had a lot of friends where their parents were very much, I don't know, it was the never get out of my line of sight type of parenting. But at the same time, it was very much, if you do this, you get this reward. And I'm just like, these are the same people that complain about kids getting what they want or always expecting to get what they want. It's like, you essentially bribe them. Of course they're going to think they're going to get something if they do a relatively okay job.
Okay. Yeah. No, I got you. I find the same problem nowadays too. Because I'll meet a lot of kids, because I have a lot of friends that are still in high school, and I'll hang out with them, and I'll see I'll see their classmates, or I'll see the new underclassmen. And I will find that they have this air about them that is just kind of arrogant, kind of cocky. They feel like they're entitled to everything that they see, or to everything that comes up. And I feel like parenting should not be that loose, but it should not be very strict either. Because
Right.
if you go to either way, if you go to an extreme of parenting, you're gonna mess up somehow. If you are too strict, you might cause your child to have too much anxiety. They might not actually live up to this non-existent potential that you see in them, or this non-existent future that you want them to achieve, that they can't, because that's not the future that they want. But they don't know what they want because they've only lived to service your dreams or your wants or needs for them.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, if you're too lax-a-days about it, and you don't really give two shits where your kid is or what they do,
Then the kid doesn't know what to do.
and it makes it very difficult for them to see the difference between right and wrong, as well as seeing, what is good for them and what is not. There are a lot of times where I've met certain people where I will have a conversation with them, and I will learn something that makes me very concerned. Or did you ever read the book, the Wallflower, or How to Be a Wallflower, or something?
I don't think so, no.
Let me make sure that I'm actually saying the right title. Oh, wait, no. It was Perks of Being a Wallflower. I'm pretty sure.
Huh.
Yes, Perks of Being a Wallflower. So, it's a great novel. It talks a lot about a lot of issues that kids have nowadays, or young adults have nowadays, that aren't often seen by parents. One of which is dating. And this is a great example. Parents can go one of very few ways when it comes to their kids dating. They can either be very dead set against it until they are financially stable, they have a good job, they can support a family, you know, the old-timey American dream view.
Here's what I'm going to say. To quote my father, when I turned 15, he turned to me and looked and said, "In one more year, you can start having sex."
Yeah, I mean, that's another way you could go with parenting.
Yep.
For relationships. But
this is coming from the same man that doesn't want me to have kids till I'm 30. I just found it very odd.
I mean, I've heard almost everything from follow your heart to wait till you can support a family, to have your taste of the world before you settle down.
My family was always in a very weird middle zone where it's essentially you can have fun as long as it doesn't affect another human being.
Okay. I got you on that. Because you shouldn't toy with someone's emotions. You should not, in your endeavors to have fun, ever think that it is okay to leave a pile of burning ash behind you as you burn the world down. Because, you know, let's be honest here and let's be fair. A lot of the time when people think that they're having fun, they often forget that people are people. They're not playthings for you to use until they bore you. And I feel like that's a big issue nowadays, where you have kids that are younger and younger trying to get into relationships and they don't really know what a relationship is yet. They don't know what they should be looking for. You know, I have seen a decent amount of my friends, or a decent amount of people that I've been introduced to talk to them about this, of this idea, and this is why I brought up that book, is that they mentioned this, but a lot of the times people accept the love that they think they deserve, and it doesn't make a lick of sense to anybody else but them.
Right.
And I think we've talked about this a couple times for myself when we have gone on walks around town and we have those discussions. But it is a very true statement. You know, there's a lot of things that play a factor into who we as people look for as potential significant others.
Yeah,
in our lives.
And it's like, what do you want to prioritize? Someone that cares about you, someone you can invest in, or someone similar. It all gets down to there needs to be a balance in life.
Yeah, there always has to be a balance. And, you know, the other thing is that as a parent, you shouldn't say, I've heard this line from a few people often when they talk to their parents about their relationships, and they're just like, I just don't like them. I don't think they're good for you. I think you should be with somebody like this. I think you should be with that person or this person. And coming from my perspective, because a lot of people mistake me for a father or for a parent because of my views about parenting. I feel that it should not, unless I feel that my child's safety, like their physical safety, their mental safety, their emotional safety, is at harm or at risk from this relationship, I will not put my 2 cents in. I will tell them how I feel about the person. You know, if they are dating somebody that I don't particularly like, I will say, you know, I will try for you, because that, as a parent, you know, you should try to see things from your child's point of view. You might notice that you might have some biases that are preventing you from actually seeing the person for who they are. You know, I've had a lot of parents who will look at somebody and they just won't like them because of some arbitrary thing. But at the end of the day, when the child goes back to them and talks to their parents, they'll be like, who was that person? And they will tell them, this is the person I've been talking to you about for so many months, so many weeks, and you actually have a lot in common with them. But when you saw them for who they were, or when they said something that was a little different to your opinion, you just chose not to like them because of a very small difference between the two of you.
Right.
And that's one of those things that it's just, it's...
Can I just say real quick, the idea of someone's parent picking out your future mate, really creepy, especially if the goal is for them to be exactly like the parent. That's just really weird.
Oh yeah, no. I could not
yeah.
imagine that. I get that vibe a lot from my not from my parents.
I feel like dads do it the most to their daughters, which then gets even weirder. I don't know.
Oh, I've never had that. My dad was actually very very shocked and surprised by my opinion, because I seemed to be much more concerned and much more nervous and anxious about my sister starting to date, because she's getting around that age where, you know, that thought does come up.
Right.
And I feel like she's at an age where she can make an appropriate decision about that. But for me, it seemed like in that moment between the two of us, he was a little bit more relaxed and laid back when I kept thinking about all of these arbitrary things. And I stopped myself and I started to think, wow, I don't really know a lot of these kids that I see, but, you know, just the general vibe from so many of them after talking to them, I still just don't like a lot of these new people that are around my sister all the time, because they're in her classes now, and they're just these students that I feel like they got the short end of the stick in life, and I feel bad. And then there are some of the ones that drag them along to continue being these really poor versions of themselves, you know, being really shitty people in society. And some of them don't really mean it. Some of them just get stuck being dragged along through the mud by somebody else who has them in a vice grip at the throat, and you just never know. But, you know, we had this conversation in which I was just so concerned about that, and there was one thing that we came to an agreement on. It was very similar, and this is how my dad is about things like that. But he was very dead set on making sure of two things. One, or not two things, but several things. One, that any of his children and whoever they choose to date actually care about each other. There has to be some emotional connection between the people that me and my siblings choose to date.
Okay.
The second is that we are doing what is best for our health. We are picking people that aren't going to harm us. He wants us to be safe. He wants us to find somebody that we care about. He wants to make sure that, you know, we understand that, you know, sometimes things don't work out the way we think. So to not dwell on when things go wrong, or not to, you know, give up.
Well, I think looking at it, a lot of my perception of fathers being overprotective does go back to media portrayals of characters. That's a big stereotype.
Oh yeah, it's always the father that has the problem with who the daughter is dating.
Hmm.
There's always the problem of, you know, you don't often see it that much in media. Uh, Back then, sometimes nowadays you do, but not very often, where it's now the mother who has the issue with, who the son is dating.
Yeah, no, it's
And
essentially your child of the opposite sex. There is going to be an opinion as to who they are dating.
yeah, and I agree with you.
Hmm.
Um, that is one of the biggest things that I've seen is an issue, is that, you know, in media we portray that only the mom cares about who the son is dating. Only the dad cares about who the daughter is
Hmm.
dating. In reality, sometimes mom doesn't give a shit at all. Sometimes dad doesn't give a shit at all. And, you know, it's very interesting to see in media today how we portray proper parenting. A lot of the time in more popularized media, you see people just, I don't know, you see parents just jump in and say things like, you're not good enough, like, they're not good enough for you, or, you should get out of this situation. I don't think that they're the right person.
Hmm.
Always trying to change or fix the relationship for their child instead of talking with them and working things out, trying to figure out where things kind of started to go awry.
Right.
Um,
We're just letting you know, getting up near the hour and 10 minute mark. Were there any last topics you wanted to go over before final words?
well, we actually only covered the one topic actually the whole time,
I'm
which
I'm
was,
aware. We just kind of got off on tangents randomly.
yeah. But I mean, the biggest thing that we
That's the
talked
whole
about was
point.
media.
Hmm.
Um, I feel like media as a whole has changed for the better in how it is accessible. As for the
Yes.
content, it leaves something to be desired.
But I mean, the nice thing about living in the modern era where we have information technologies everywhere, even if the content is sometimes lacking, you can always find other content. It just depends on whether or not you are able to or actually care enough to seek it out.
Okay. I mean, that's true. Um, I don't know. Aside from that, I feel like the only other thing I want to say about media then and now, back in the day and today, is that, so many things have changed about common everyday things like parenting, general life skills that you teach your kids. You know,
Hmm.
I don't know how news is produced. What generally as a person you should be doing, thereby dictated by our society because it is on media. And I feel like that is the biggest downfall to this
I
massive
I
pouring
challenge
for
you to the ice
information.
bucket challenge.
I already did that once. I'm not doing that
Oh,
again.
hot chili challenge.
I don't eat spicy food.
I know you don't.
I'm like not fully like, I don't eat a lot of spicy food, which is surprising
I
considering
was making a joke
I
about
know.
media influencing
Oh, media
decisions.
influencing decisions. I thought you were making a joke because like I'm Puerto Rican,
No, no,
and like Latino food being like spicy, or a good amount of it being spicy.
no, no. Latino food just causes diarrhea.
Okay, that is not true.
For a second, I thought you were going to say because it was inappropriate. I'm like, this coming from the guy that brought up tapeworms.
Yeah, no, I was gonna no. I'm not gonna say it's inappropriate. Look at the shit that we talk about on this. Like, are you kidding me? Like,
Yeah,
for
good
real?
point.
Like, we talk about a lot of shit on here. Literally and figuratively.
I, yeah, yep. I blame UPS.
You'd be... Yeah. I'm actually surprised they didn't throw my package this time.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I was concerned because it was all the mic equipment, and all the recording stuff and the new mouse and everything, which is like, I told you it was like $160 altogether.
Yeah, you ever hear about FedEx stealing things?
Nope, but never heard of that.
It's very rare, but it was a big thing last year.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry to pull us
weird.
off on that random tangent.
No, that's fine. Well, this is like it's really hard to find a way to tie everything together because there are so many different topics. I mean, I guess for media as a whole, we covered that. Parenting, I feel like
really it all stems to where we are in the world right now.
Yeah.
I mean, our culture, the year we're in, everything, it just sort of builds into this one peak. And a lot of different things go on because of that, and not everyone will agree. But that's okay. Differing opinions creates for new outlooks and some enlightenment.
Yeah. I feel like that's the best way to end this. You know, media is what we make it, and society is only shaped by what we choose to believe or disbelieve, or what we choose to change or not change. And media can either be our saving grace, or it can be it could be the sword that kills us in the end. It can be that double-edged sword and end up harming us more than it's going to help. It depends on how we choose to use it. All right. So this has been the 360 Perspective podcast with Libris Blood
and Hawk. Nice seeing y'all.
All right, catch you guys next week for some more stuff. Actually, do you want to pick the topic now?
Oh Lord, I don't know.
We have 2 left from this week that we didn't cover. Censorship or age requirements?
Ooh. Let's do censorship.
All right, so we'll catch you guys back here next week, same time, same place. Not really same time, same place, but like same channels for our discussion about censorship. So,
Woot.
catch you guys later.
Kisses. Bye-bye.